A Love Left Behind. The mining colony of Tarsus AX was no place for a child, but Ethan had no choice. The harsh winds howled outside his small metallic home, carrying the bitter scent of iron and dust. Inside, the hum of a makeshift heater filled the silence as Ethan carefully tucked his daughter, Lyra, into bed. Her tiny hands clutched a worn-out stuffed animal, a gift from someone she barely remembered. Ethan sat at the edge of her bed, his weathered face lit by the soft glow of Lyra's nightlight. Her glowing blue eyes, a trait she had inherited from her alien mother, stared up at him. "Daddy," she asked, her voice small and curious, "will Mommy ever come back?" The question hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He had prepared himself for this moment, yet no answer felt right. He forced a smile and stroked her hair. "Get some sleep, sweetheart," he said, dodging the question. "We have a big day tomorrow." As Lyra's breathing slowed and she drifted into sleep, Ethan's smile faded. He rose and walked to the small window that overlooked the barren landscape. Beyond the colony's perimeter, nothing but rocky craters and a red, desolate horizon stretched for miles. He stared at the stars, his mind drifting to Kara, the woman who had once been the center of his world. Kara was a Serenian, a mysterious alien race known for their beauty and advanced technology. They rarely left their homeworld, and when they did, they kept their distance from humans. Yet Kara had been different. She had wandered into the colony 3 years ago, her silver hair flowing like liquid starlight, and her piercing blue eyes radiating warmth. Despite their differences, Ethan and Kara had fallen for each other. Their love had been a rare and beautiful thing, but it was not without challenges. Serenians were known for their strict, almost unbreakable traditions. Interactions with humans were frowned upon, let alone relationships. Ethan knew the risks, but his love for Kara made him believe they could overcome anything. Then one day, everything changed. Ethan could still remember the morning she left. She had woken early, her movements quiet and deliberate. He had stirred awake just in time to see her slipping out the door, her expression heavy with sorrow. "Kara, wait," he had called, but she didn't turn back. All she left behind was a single message: "I have no choice." Ethan had spent months trying to make sense of her words, searching for answers that never came. Eventually, he stopped asking why. He buried himself in his work, mining precious metals from the harsh terrain of Tarsus AX. He became a father and a provider, dedicating every moment to ensuring Lyra's survival. But no amount of hard work could fill the void Kara had left. Every time he looked at Lyra's glowing eyes, he saw her mother. It was a painful reminder of a love lost and the betrayal that followed. Ethan's thoughts were interrupted by a faint noise behind him. He turned to see Lyra standing in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, why are you sad?" she asked, her innocent gaze piercing through his defenses. "I'm not sad, sweetheart," he lied, crouching to her level. "I was just thinking." Lyra tilted her head, her expression wise beyond her years. "About Mommy?" she asked softly. Ethan froze, unsure of how to respond. Finally, he nodded. "Yeah," he admitted. "About Mommy." Lyra climbed into his arms, resting her head on his shoulder. "Do you think she misses us?" she whispered. Ethan's throat tightened. He wanted to tell her the truth, to say that he didn't know if Kara missed them or if she even thought about them at all. But instead, he held her close and whispered, "I think she does." For a moment, they stayed like that, father and daughter finding comfort in each other. Ethan carried Lyra back to bed and tucked her in once more. As she drifted back to sleep, he sat by the window, gazing at the stars. "Kara," he murmured under his breath, "wherever you are, I hope you made the right choice." The stars offered no answer, only their cold, distant light. Ethan sighed and leaned back, the weight of the past pressing heavily on his shoulders. Little did he know, the past was about to return in ways he could never have imagined. Far away, in the silent void of space, a lone starship was making its way toward Tarsus AX. Inside, Kara sat in the cockpit, her face pale and her eyes filled with determination. She had made her choice 3 years ago, but now she had no choice but to come back. "Hold on, Ethan," she whispered. "Hold on, Lyra. I'm coming back." Kara's desperate return. The sky above Tarsus AX was usually calm, its stars twinkling faintly through the planet's thin atmosphere. But tonight, the stars were obscured by a streak of fire cutting across the heavens, a lone starship descending rapidly toward the colony. Inside his cramped home, Ethan stirred from his restless sleep, his instincts honed by years of living in the harsh frontier. The faint rumble of a distant engine shook the ground beneath him. He grabbed his blaster, always within reach, and headed to the window. His breath caught when he saw the glowing vessel landing near the colony's edge, its design unmistakably Serenian. A chill ran through him. It couldn't be. Ethan's heart raced as the ship's hatch hissed open, releasing a figure shrouded in shadow. His grip tightened on the blaster as the figure stepped into the faint glow of the colony's exterior lights. Silver hair, flowing like liquid metal, caught the light. His stomach churned. Kara. She was thinner than he remembered, her once pristine elegance marred by exhaustion. Her clothes, once symbols of Serenian perfection, were tattered, and her glowing blue eyes flickered with urgency. For a moment, they locked eyes across the distance, and the years of anger and heartache boiled to the surface. Ethan slammed the door shut before she could come closer. Kara stood in the cold wind, staring at the closed door of Ethan's home. Her heart ached, but she had expected this, after everything she had done, after everything she had left behind. How could he welcome her back? Summoning her courage, she raised her hand and knocked. No response. She knocked again, harder this time. "Ethan," she called, her voice trembling but firm. "Please, I need to talk to you." The door opened just a crack, enough for Ethan's face to appear. His expression was hard, his eyes unreadable. "Talk," he said, his voice sharp. "Now you want to talk. After 3 years." Kara flinched at the venom in his tone, but she refused to back down. "I didn't come here for forgiveness," she said. "I came to warn you." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Warn me? About what?" Kara glanced over her shoulder, scanning the dark horizon. "They're coming for Lyra," she said, her voice low but urgent. "The Serenian Council knows about her. They'll stop at nothing to erase her existence." Ethan's anger flared. "Erase her existence," he repeated. "You mean the daughter you abandoned? The one I've been raising on my own while you disappeared?" Kara's shoulders slumped. "I didn't have a choice, Ethan," she said, her voice cracking. "They forced me to leave. I had to protect her, to protect both of you." Ethan laughed bitterly. "Protect us? By running away? That's a hell of a way to show it." Kara's eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. Instead, she stepped back and dropped to her knees, lowering her head. "I know I've failed you," she said. "But I'm here now, and I won't let them take her. Please, Ethan, let me help." The sincerity in her voice gave Ethan pause. He looked at her, kneeling in the dirt, and for the first time, he saw not the proud Serenian who had once stolen his heart, but a broken woman desperate to make things right. Inside the house, Lyra peeked through a crack in her bedroom door, her glowing eyes wide with curiosity. She didn't understand everything they were saying, but she knew one thing for certain. The woman outside was her mother. Quietly, she tiptoed to the door and opened it just enough to step out. Ethan turned at the sound of her small footsteps, his heart sinking when he saw her standing there. "Lyra, go back inside," he said firmly. But Lyra ignored him. She walked past her father, her gaze fixed on Kara. For a moment, mother and daughter simply stared at each other. Kara's eyes softened, and she reached out a trembling hand. "Lyra," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You've grown so much." Lyra hesitated, her small face a mixture of curiosity and confusion. "Are you really my mommy?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Kara nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, my star. I'm your mommy. And I'm so sorry for leaving you. Lyra glanced at Ethan, unsure of what to do. Ethan's expression was conflicted, his protective instincts battling with something deeper. Finally, he sighed and stepped aside. Come inside, he said gruffly, but don't think this changes anything. Kara nodded, grateful for the small concession. As she stepped into the warmth of the home she had left behind, she knew this was only the beginning. The Serenians were coming, and she would do whatever it took to protect her family. The Serenian secret. The ancient Serenian star charts had always been a mystery to Ethan, but now they were sprawled across his kitchen table, their glowing symbols casting eerie reflections on the walls. Kara, seated across from him, traced her fingers over the holographic display with a mixture of urgency and dread. They've been tracking her energy signature, Kara explained, her voice tight. Lyra isn't just a child to them. She's a breach of everything the Serenian Council stands for. They see her existence as a threat to their way of life. Ethan leaned back in his chair, his expression dark. So, they're what? Sending assassins after a little girl. Kara's eyes flickered with guilt. They don't think of her as a child, Ethan. To them, she's a symbol of chaos, of defiance. They've been hunting me for years, and now they found her. Ethan slammed his fist on the table, the hologram flickering from the force. So, this is why you left. To keep them from finding her. Kara nodded. I thought if I disappeared, they'd stop looking. But they didn't. They've only gotten more determined. A small voice interrupted them. Are they coming to take me away? Both adults turned to see Lyra standing in the doorway, clutching her stuffed animal tightly. Her glowing blue eyes were wide with fear. Kara's face softened, and she knelt down to Lyra's level. No, my star, she said gently. No one is going to take you away. I promise. Ethan watched the exchange in silence, his chest tightening. He had spent 3 years building a life for Lyra, protecting her from the harsh realities of the universe. Now all of that felt like it was crumbling. Later that night, as Lyra slept in the small room Ethan had built for her, he confronted Kara again. Why now? He demanded. Why come back after all this time? Kara hesitated, her gaze dropping to the floor. Because they've activated the Seekers, she said finally. Ethan frowned. Seekers? They're Serenian hunters, Kara explained. Machines, but alive in their own way. They're programmed to find anomalies, anything that doesn't belong. Once they lock onto a target, they don't stop. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. And they've locked onto Lyra. Kara nodded. I intercepted a transmission before I came here. They know she's on Tarsus AX. It's only a matter of time before they arrive. Ethan rubbed his temples, trying to process the weight of her words. So, what's your plan? How do we stop them? Kara hesitated. There's a sanctuary, she said, a place my mother told me about when I was young. It's hidden, far from Serenian space, and it's designed to mask energy signatures like Lyra's. If we can reach it, she'll be safe. Ethan studied her, his expression unreadable. And you're sure this place exists? Kara met his gaze. I'm sure. It's our only chance. Before they could discuss further, the lights in the house flickered. A deep, resonant hum filled the air, vibrating through the walls. Ethan grabbed his blaster. What the hell is that? Kara's face paled. They're here. The hum grew louder, and outside, the faint glow of approaching lights appeared on the horizon. Ethan peered through the window and saw 3 sleek, silver shapes cutting through the night. Their movements were precise, almost surgical, as they descended toward the colony. Get Lyra, Ethan barked. We're leaving. Now. Kara didn't need to be told twice. She rushed to Lyra's room and scooped the sleeping child into her arms. Lyra stirred, blinking groggily. What's happening? She murmured. Sham, my star, Kara whispered. We're going on an adventure. By the time they reached the colony's perimeter, The Serenian ships were landing, their engines emitting an eerie, otherworldly hum. Ethan led the way, his blaster at the ready, while Kara followed closely behind, clutching Lyra tightly. As they reached the edge of the colony, a voice rang out, amplified by Serenian technology. Kara of House Velian, surrender yourself and the anomaly. You cannot escape. Kara's grip on Lyra tightened. We're not stopping, she said, her voice firm. Ethan glanced at her, his jaw set. Dan right, we're not. They disappeared into the rocky terrain, the Serenian enforcers hot on their trail. The chase had begun, and there was no turning back. The chase begins. The jagged cliffs of Tarsus EX loomed like silent sentinels, their sharp edges casting long shadows under the faint glow of the planet's twin moons. Ethan led the way, his boots crunching on the rocky ground, every step calculated to avoid loose gravel that might give away their position. Behind him, Kara cradled Lyra, her breathing steady but her eyes constantly scanning the darkness. Above them, the Serenian ships hovered like predators, their searchlights slicing through the night. The hum of their engines was low and menacing, a sound that made Lyra cling to her mother even tighter. They're scanning for her energy signature, Kara whispered, her voice barely audible over the distant hum. We need to stay under the rock formations. It'll block their sensors. Ethan shot her a glance. Then lead the way. You're the expert on running. Kara flinched at the jab, but didn't argue. She adjusted Lyra in her arms and motioned toward a narrow crevice in the cliffs. This way. There's a network of caves that leads out of the valley. As they slipped into the shadows of the crevice, the temperature dropped and the air grew thin. The walls were damp and narrow, forcing them to move single file. Lyra whimpered softly, and Ethan turned to check on her. Are you okay, kiddo? He asked, his tone softer than before. Lyra nodded, her glowing blue eyes wide with fear. I'm scared, she whispered. Ethan crouched down to her level, his rough hands resting gently on her shoulders. I know, sweetheart, he said, but you're the bravest kid I know. We're gonna get through this, okay? Lyra nodded again, her tiny hand reaching for his. Ethan gave it a reassuring squeeze before standing and continuing deeper into the crevice. Behind them, the hum of the Serenian ships grew louder. Kara froze, her eyes darting upward. They've deployed seekers, she hissed. Ethan frowned. What the hell are seekers? Kara didn't answer right away. Instead, she pointed to a faint, flickering light weaving through the cliffs above them. That. The seeker was a sleek, mechanical orb no larger than a human head, its surface smooth and reflective. It moved with an almost predatory grace, scanning the terrain with a pulsating blue light. Ethan could feel the hairs on the back of his neck rise as it passed overhead. If it locks onto her energy signature, it'll alert the enforcers, Kara explained. We can't let it find us. Ethan nodded grimly. Stay here, he said, handing her his blaster. I'll take care of it. Kara's eyes widened. You can't fight that thing. It's designed to neutralize threats. Ethan smirked. Good thing I'm not just any threat. Before she could argue, he slipped out of the crevice and began climbing the cliffside. His muscles burned as he hoisted himself up, the rocky surface cutting into his hands. He moved with practiced efficiency, every motion deliberate and quiet. When he reached the ledge where the seeker was hovering, he crouched low, observing its movements. The orb pulsed with light, its scans methodical. Ethan waited until it turned away, then lunged forward, grabbing a jagged piece of rock and slamming it into the seeker's sensor array. The orb shuddered and emitted a sharp mechanical screech. Sparks flew as it spun erratically, its once precise movements now chaotic. Ethan didn't wait for it to recover. He grabbed another rock and smashed it against the seeker's core, silencing it for good. Down below, Kara watched in awe as Ethan returned, his hands bloody but his expression triumphant. Told you I could handle it, he said, a hint of a grin on his face. Kara shook her head, a small smile tugging at her lips despite the tension. "You're impossible." Ethan glanced at Lyra, who was looking up at him with wide eyes. "See, nothing to be scared of," he said, ruffling her hair. But their moment of relief was short-lived. The ground beneath them trembled, and a low rumble echoed through the valley. Kara's face turned pale. "That wasn't the only seeker," she said. As if on cue, a swarm of glowing orbs appeared at the mouth of the crevice, their blue lights illuminating the darkness. The hum of the Serenian ships grew louder, and a voice echoed through the valley. "Ethan Carter and Caravellian, surrender now. Resistance is futile." Ethan grabbed Kara's arm and pulled her deeper into the crevice. "No more running," he growled. "We fight." Kara hesitated, her eyes flicking to Lyra. "We have to protect her." Ethan nodded, his jaw set. "And we will. But if they think they're taking my daughter, they've got another thing coming." The chase had turned into a standoff, and Ethan was ready to do whatever it took to keep his family safe. The hidden sanctuary. The barren moon loomed in the starry void, its surface cracked and pockmarked like the skin of an ancient giant. Kara guided the battered starship toward a jagged canyon, her fingers dancing over the controls with a precision born of desperation. "We're almost there," she said, her voice tight with urgency. "The sanctuary is hidden beneath the surface." Ethan, strapped into the seat beside her, kept his gaze on the view screen. Behind them, the Serenian ships were distant but persistent, their silver hulls gleaming as they cut through the darkness. "How much longer?" he asked. Kara didn't look at him. "A few minutes. If we can reach the entrance before they catch up, we'll be safe." In the back, Lyra clung to her stuffed animal, her glowing blue eyes darting between her parents. "Is it a magical place?" she asked softly. Kara glanced over her shoulder, her expression softening. "In a way, yes," she said. "It's a place where no one can hurt us." Lyra's small face brightened. "Like a home." Kara hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, my star. Like a home." The ship descended into the canyon, its engines roaring as Kara steered it through the narrow passage. Ethan gripped the armrest as the walls closed in, the rocky edges scraping against the hull. "You sure this is the right way?" he asked. Kara shot him a sharp look. "Trust me." The ship suddenly veered to the right, and a hidden entrance came into view, a massive, circular hatch embedded in the canyon wall. Its surface was engraved with glowing Serenian symbols, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. "That's it," Kara said, relief washing over her face. She activated the ship's beacon, and the symbols on the hatch began to glow brighter. With a deep groan, the ancient door slid open, revealing a tunnel leading into the moon's core. Kara wasted no time, piloting the ship inside just as the Serenian pursuers appeared at the canyon's edge. Inside the sanctuary, the ship settled onto a smooth metallic platform. The walls shimmered with an otherworldly light, their surfaces adorned with intricate carvings that seemed to shift and flow like water. The air was warm and oddly comforting, a stark contrast to the harshness outside. Ethan stepped out of the ship, his boots echoing in the vast chamber. "What is this place?" he asked, his voice tinged with awe. Kara helped Lyra out of the ship and took a deep breath. "It's a refuge," she said. "A place my mother created for those who didn't fit into Serenian society." Ethan frowned. "Your mother? I thought the council didn't tolerate dissent." "They don't," Kara said, her expression darkening. "That's why she built this in secret. She believed in a future where hybrids like Lyra could exist without fear." Lyra tugged at Kara's sleeve. "What's a hybrid?" she asked. Kara knelt down, brushing a strand of hair from Lyra's face. "It means you're special," she said. "You're a mix of two worlds, and that makes you stronger than anyone else." As they explored the sanctuary, they came across a central chamber filled with ancient Serenian technology. In the center was a pedestal holding a glowing orb. Kara approached it with reverence, her fingers brushing against its surface. The orb flared to life, projecting a holographic image of an older Serenian woman with the same silver hair and glowing blue eyes as Kara. The image smiled warmly. "Kara, my child," it said, "if you found this place, it means you've taken the path of courage." Ethan crossed his arms. "Is this a message from your mother?" Kara nodded, her throat tight. She must have recorded it before the council found her. The hologram continued. "This sanctuary is more than a hiding place. It's a shield designed to mask the energy signatures of those who seek refuge here. But be warned, if the council finds this place, they will stop at nothing to destroy it." Kara's hands clenched into fists. "We have to activate the shield before they track us." Ethan stepped forward. "Then let's do it. Tell me what to do." Kara guided Ethan to a control panel, where he used his mining skills to power up the dormant systems. The sanctuary hummed to life, its walls glowing brighter as the shield activated. Outside, the Serenian ships hovered at the canyon's entrance, scanning for a way in. "They're close," Ethan said, his voice tense. "How long will this shield hold?" Kara's jaw tightened. "Long enough, I hope." Lyra wandered toward the glowing orb, her small hand reaching out to touch it. The orb responded, sending a ripple of light through the chamber. Kara and Ethan turned in alarm, but instead of danger, the light enveloped Lyra, forming a protective barrier around her. "What's happening?" Ethan asked, his voice filled with panic. Kara's eyes widened. "The sanctuary recognizes her. It's protecting her." Lyra looked up at them, her face glowing with wonder. "I feel safe," she said softly. For the first time in years, Kara felt a glimmer of hope. "So do I," she whispered. But outside, the Serenian ships began to fire at the sanctuary's entrance, and the countdown to their next confrontation had begun. Redemption through sacrifice. The sanctuary's walls trembled as the Serenian ships unleashed their weapons, blue plasma bolts slamming against the ancient structure. The shield held, but faint cracks began to ripple through the glowing barrier, each impact sending a low vibration through the cavern. Kara stood in the control chamber, her hands flying over the console as she tried to strengthen the shield. Sweat dripped down her temples as she muttered in Serenian, her voice tense with desperation. Ethan stood beside her, gripping his blaster tightly. "How long can this place hold?" he asked. Kara didn't look up. "Not long," she admitted. "Their weapons are designed to overwhelm technology like this. We're running out of time." In the corner of the room, Lyra sat on the floor, her knees drawn to her chest. The protective glow from the sanctuary still surrounded her, but her glowing blue eyes were filled with fear. "What if they get in?" she whispered. Ethan knelt beside her, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. "They won't," he said firmly. "We won't let them." A voice echoed through the sanctuary, amplified by Serenian technology. It was calm, cold, and laced with authority. "Kara Velian, surrender yourself and the anomaly. The Council offers you one final chance to atone." Kara froze, the voice sending a chill down her spine. She recognized it immediately. It was her brother, Orin, the enforcer who had been tasked with hunting her down. Memories of their childhood flashed in her mind, bittersweet and distant. But those memories were overshadowed by the reality of his loyalty to the Council. Ethan noticed her hesitation. "You know him," he said, his tone accusing. Kara nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "He's my brother." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Your brother, and he's here to kill you. To kill your daughter." Kara swallowed hard, the weight of her family's betrayal pressing down on her. "He believes he's doing what's right," she said. "The Council has poisoned him." Outside, Orin's voice rang out again. "Kara, do not force my hand. You know the Council's will. This is your last warning." Kara's fists clenched. She turned to Ethan, her eyes burning with resolve. "I'm going out there." Ethan grabbed her arm, his voice sharp. "Are you insane? They'll kill you." She shook her head. "They want me, Ethan. Not Lyra. If I surrender, they might leave you both alone. Lyra's voice broke through the tension. Mommy, no, she cried, running to Kara and clinging to her legs. Don't leave me again. Kara knelt, her heart breaking as she cupped Lyra's face in her hands. My star, she said gently, I have to protect you. That's what mommies do. Tears streamed down Lyra's face. But I need you. Kara kissed her forehead. You're stronger than you know, she whispered. Stronger than me. Kara stepped toward the sanctuary's entrance, her steps slow but deliberate. Ethan followed, his expression dark. You think I'm just going to let you walk out there alone? He said. Kara turned to him, her voice firm. You don't have a choice. Stay with Lyra. Keep her safe. Ethan shook his head. No, we're doing this together. Before Kara could argue, the walls shook violently, and the shield flickered. Orin's ships were breaking through. Kara's eyes widened. We're out of time. Ethan grabbed her hand, his grip strong and reassuring. Then let's make this count. As the shield finally collapsed, the Serenian enforcers entered the sanctuary, their sleek armor gleaming under the dim light. Orin led the group, his cold blue eyes locking onto Kara immediately. Sister, he said, his voice devoid of warmth. You've defied the council for the last time. Kara stepped forward, standing tall despite the fear coursing through her veins. You don't have to do this, Orin, she said. We're family. Orin's expression didn't change. You abandoned your family the moment you chose him, he said, nodding toward Ethan. And now you endanger our people with your mistake. Kara's temper flared. Lyra is not a mistake, she snapped. She's a child. My child. And an anomaly, Orin said coldly. The council's will is clear. Ethan raised his blaster. Your council's will doesn't mean a damn thing to me, he growled. The tension broke as the enforcers raised their weapons, and chaos erupted. Ethan fired the first shot, the blast striking an enforcer and sending him sprawling. Kara joined the fray, using her Serenian training to disarm two enforcers with fluid, precise movements. Orin advanced toward her, his weapon drawn. Don't make me do this, Kara, he said. She faced him, unflinching. You already have. Just as Orin raised his weapon, a surge of energy filled the room. Lyra stood at the center, her small body glowing with a radiant blue light. The sanctuary responded to her, its ancient walls pulsing with power. Stop, Lyra shouted, her voice echoing like 1,000 bells. The enforcers froze, their weapons falling from their hands as the light overwhelmed them. Kara and Ethan shielded their eyes as Lyra's power surged. When the light faded, the enforcers were unconscious, and Orin stood alone, his expression one of shock and awe. Kara approached him, her voice soft but firm. Now you see, Orin. She's not a threat. She's a miracle. Orin lowered his weapon, his face conflicted. Without a word, he turned and left, retreating to his ship. The remaining enforcers followed, leaving the sanctuary in peace. Kara knelt beside Lyra, pulling her into a tight embrace. You're incredible, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. Ethan joined them, placing a protective arm around his family. She gets it from you, he said. Kara smiled through her tears. For the first time in years, she felt something she thought she had lost forever. Hope. A new beginning. The silence inside the sanctuary was profound, broken only by the faint hum of its ancient technology. The walls, once pulsating with chaotic energy, now glowed softly, as if breathing in unison with the family standing at its heart. Kara held Lyra close, her fingers gently brushing the child's hair. The warmth of Lyra's small body in her arms felt like a promise, a reminder of everything she had fought for. Beside her, Ethan stood with one arm around them both, his gaze fixed on the sanctuary's main chamber. His hardened face softened, the weight of years of struggle lifting, if only for a moment. Do you think they'll come back? Ethan asked, his voice breaking the fragile calm. Kara shook her head, though her expression was uncertain. "Oren saw what Lyra is capable of," she said. "He knows she's not just some anomaly. She's proof that their fears are wrong." Ethan exhaled, running a hand through his hair. "That's a lot of hope to hang on one man." Kara glanced at him, a faint smile tugging at her lips. "Sometimes hope is all we have." In the days that followed, the sanctuary became more than just a refuge. It became a home. Kara and Ethan worked side by side, restoring the ancient systems that had long been dormant. With each passing day, the sanctuary seemed to come alive, its purpose renewed by the presence of those it was built to protect. Lyra thrived in the sanctuary, her natural curiosity leading her to uncover hidden chambers and ancient artifacts. She would often bring her discoveries to her parents, her excitement infectious. One day, she found a mural etched into the sanctuary's deepest chamber. It depicted a future Kara's mother had envisioned, a world where Serenians and humans stood side by side, their differences celebrated rather than feared. Lyra traced the figures with her small fingers, her glowing eyes filled with wonder. "Do you think this will ever happen?" she asked. Kara knelt beside her, studying the mural with a mixture of pride and sadness. "It's possible," she said, "but it will take people like you to make it real." Lyra turned to her mother, her expression serious. "I'll do it, Mommy. I'll make it real." Kara hugged her tightly, her heart swelling with love. "I know you will, my star." One evening, as they stood beneath the sanctuary's dome, Ethan pointed out a cluster of stars to Lyra. "That's the Orion cluster," he said. "Humans used to think it was just a bunch of stars, but we know better now." Lyra tilted her head, her glowing eyes wide. "What is it really?" "It's where the first human colony ships landed," Kara explained, joining them. "Your father's ancestors came from there." Lyra's eyes lit up. "Does that mean I'm part of the stars?" Ethan chuckled, ruffling her hair. "You're the brightest star of all, kiddo." As they stood together, a faint ripple of light passed through the sanctuary, signaling the activation of its final defenses. Kara had made sure every system was optimized, every safeguard in place. The sanctuary was no longer just a hiding place. It was a beacon, a place for others like them. Kara turned to Ethan, her voice quiet but firm. "We can't keep this place to ourselves. There are others out there, hybrids, outcasts, people with nowhere to go. They need a sanctuary too." Ethan nodded, his expression serious. "And if the council comes for us again?" Kara's eyes sparkled with determination. "Then we'll be ready." The final scene unfolded as Lyra stood at the entrance of the sanctuary, looking out at the stars. Her parents stood behind her, their hands resting on her shoulders. The family was together, united by love and a shared purpose. "Do you think the stars are watching us?" Lyra asked softly. Kara smiled. "Maybe they are," she said, "and maybe they're waiting." "Waiting for what?" Lyra asked. "For us to show them what's possible," Ethan said, his voice steady. "For us to show them a better way." As the camera panned out, the sanctuary's glow illuminated the barren landscape, a solitary light in the vast darkness of space. It was more than a refuge. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of love to bridge even the widest divides. Ending line. "And in the silent expanse of the universe, a new legacy began, one born not of fear, but of courage."